Peace, family. We are now live. Thank you for being patient as usual, family. We're about to get started, and I'm about to bring my guest on. Y'all have seen her here before. But before we do, as usual, let's get to a quick commercial. We're going to get into Holy Ghost 3 commercial with my brother Cambada. Album coming soon. We'll be right back in 1 minute, family.
Now I got a whole lot of something breaking through the roof. Willie Walker when he pressed the button. When I do a money ritual, all of a sudden money started coming. Then I cut the Holy Ghost. I still be rhyming even when I'm mumbling. You repeat my name 3 times while you staring in the mirror. Body will appear like poof. I came from out of thin air. To me the gun is like a magic wand. I make a problem disappear. I would nigga tape out his mouth. Just to turn him to veneer. I can do magic. 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 When I open up my mouth, I can move masses. Black magic on the beat, turn it to a classic. I'ma take the money out the bank, then I'ma put it in a mattress. Tell me the niggas got.
All right, family. We're gonna get into some magic tonight, and without further ado, want to welcome back Erin Lyons. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure and a joy to be here.
Nah, definitely. The people definitely love when you come through. You bring a certain energy of positivity. And sometimes we could be flooded with conspiracy theories in the community that we're in. And it could get overwhelming and it could seem hopeless sometimes. So when you come in with this energy and letting us know, that there's different ways of looking at this thing and creating from this matrix. So it's definitely needed. Your energy is definitely needed in this day and time. I reached out to you yesterday because I noticed on your Instagram post a couple of weeks ago, you actually said you were in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about what you do a lot of energetic grid work. Is that the correct way to put it? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I want to know, number one, if you were all right. And I want to know, number two, what you thought about what was going on. So before, just to start out with the show, you just recently coming from there. I mean, you probably left a week before all of this went down. What's your thoughts on being there and seeing what transpired within the last week or two in Hawaii?
It's really interesting because when I was sort of sent there on this mission grid work trip, the theme was collective forgiveness, opening a collective forgiveness portal. And so what I was actually doing was anchoring what I call omniversal frequencies. That is the unified field of all that is consciousness, anchoring that to activate an old Lemurian grid. So the fact that these fires have sort of surfaced literally a few weeks later,
right,
sort of shows me that what we did there was legit. Like we really activated some things. So when I was there personally, it's a beautiful place. I stayed at a beautiful place, but the lack of indigenous presence to me is something that I really felt. I really attuned to the frequency of underlying pain of the people there. And as I started connecting with the land after these wildfires started, what was revealed to me is that there are a lot of other things going on there that what I'll say is the sacred energy and vortexes that are there are not being used in the highest love and light by certain individuals. And the spirit of that land is not going to allow that vibration to sustain because we are entering what I call the Lemurian golden age. These new timelines are vibrating so high that anything that's in distortion is not going to be sustained, even if it needs to be burnt to the ground. So there's so many ways you can look at it. I'm choosing to look at this as transmutation. Even when we look at the element of fire, that was also being shown to me. It's a burning down to rebuild something that's going to be in alignment with where we're headed as a collective in our consciousness.
But do you think a lot of people feel as though it's being burnt down with the intentions of these corporations coming in and building in, hotels and everything else that they do? So what's your thoughts on people saying that it was destroyed by direct energy weapons for diabolical purposes?
So this is where you begin to expand into full and total quantum consciousness, meaning it depends on what timeline you are in. Some people are going to be experiencing the fifth dimensional version of the exact same occurrence, where some people are going to be, like, I'm seeing the timeline sort of go like this. The folks who are going in that direction, in the parallel version and frequency of Earth you're going to anchor into, perhaps that's the reality. That's what you're going to experience. So we're not all going to be experiencing the same version of Earth. This is what, like, I have so many councils here. They're inner Earth councils, omniversal councils, galactic councils. The Lemurian council is here, Dolphin Collective, Well Collective, like all these ancient energies who hold Akashic memory. And this is an invitation for us to unlock our true crystalline quantum consciousness. What do you choose to believe? And what they're pulling through right now is the government is an illusion. You are always in self-government. You have to choose to self-govern. And the more people that choose to self-govern, we will co-create a collective reality where we are experiencing freedom and not automatically jumping to they're doing this to us. That is a old template, matrix template that is being there's just a lot of energy going into clearing those programs.
Do you think true freedom could only exist if you subscribe to the idea of this multiverse theory? Because with that theory or that way of looking at life, you can always view it from I just have to tap into this parallel world. But if you view it as it's just one world, it could be kind of exhausting to try to change just one world, because it's almost like impossible to change the world. But if you view it from a parallel universe perspective, you could just, tap into another parallel world. So do you think that's like the ultimate thing we need to be tapping into right now?
Absolutely. I think true freedom and true abundance lies in your ability to quantum shift wherever you want to go within consciousness. That's the only thing that's happening. But because there are so many dense programs that are embedded within the human psyche, it's very difficult to access alternate timelines. So this is what I see as a time loop. And a time loop is simply recreating the same experience over and over and over again. And that's what humans have been doing for thousands of years, recreating the same experiences over and over and over again. Now, what I'm hearing is it's okay, because a part of that is experimentation. So we allow these falls in consciousness to happen, really for the thrill of like climbing back up. But sometimes we can get stuck for a little bit, which is why now it's cleanup time.
These dense programs that you talk about that exist, sometimes these programs can come in the forms of family or friends. Do you think that when we're tapping into these multidimensional timelines, like let's say I have a mother who I have a traumatic experience with and I don't have the best of relationship with, tapping into another timeline, can I change who she is in that timeline, or does she have to stay in that old timeline and only I can only change me in the timeline and whoever happens to be already tapped into that timeline?
I love this question. I'm in Mexico right now and it's storming. So if you guys
I hear it.
Hopefully it doesn't get too loud. But everything and everyone is your reflection. So we're living in a hall of infinite mirrors. And how I see this is you do activate versions of people. So if I'm interacting with someone and I'm choosing to perceive them in a certain way, so let's say I'm pointing out their flaws, or I'm still in the story where they are doing something to me, I'm activating that version of them. Now, let's say I heal my consciousness. I heal whatever triggers and wounds are there. And now I'm just operating in neutrality. I'm not responding, I'm not reacting, I'm not placing an expectation on that person's behavior, and I'm totally detached from needing them to be or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
In neutralizing that down to a 0 point frequency, you can activate a different version of that person. And I've experienced this with my family personally, where after doing a lot of deep healing and then being around them, I'm like, can I just make up all that inner child stuff? Because they were different, but they were responding to me. The reflection changed because I changed. Now, sometimes people do vibrate out, and I'm kind of like in that phase with my family right now, where there's just been like a timeline fracture, and we can't hold the same reality right now. But it vibrates in, it can vibrate out, and that's just the rhythm in the flow when you are on this path of ascension.
Talk to me about Lemuria. You hear so much about Lemuria and its connection with what we call Hawaii, the spiritual history of Hawaii, and why it may be so important spiritually to this planet.
I want to share something that really shocked me that I learned when I was in Maui. Some of the folks who live there that I connected with were telling me how the Hawaiian language was forbidden from being taught for about 90 or so years. And when I was looking into the language, I could recognize the star verbiage or the celestial imprints in that language. And so mentioning that to say what we call Lemuria was seeded and colonized by galactic beings, mainly Pleiadian beings first. And these were some of the original colonies on Earth. And at the time, they're showing me this as pre-Pangea, or like before continents started to separate and that type of thing. It was all like the entire planet is what we would know to be Lemuria or Atlantis. It was all connected. And so they want me to explain why they came here and colonized Lemuria. So in the higher galactic realms, you can only live in certain star constellations based on your DNA. And so they wanted to create this living library. They're showing me this is like, think about how the United States is a melting pot. They wanted to create a place where it could be a galactic melting pot, and all of these different galactic races and beings could live and occupy space together. So they had to engineer and create a certain blend of DNA.
That's dope. Wow.
That was why. That was the original reason why. Now, over time, there were different dynasties of certain galactic races who ruled the earth at that time. Like during a lot of the Egyptian timelines, they're showing me there was a reptilian dynasty, there was an Anunnaki dynasty, there was a Syrian Lyran dynasty. So these different things were happening where different galactic beings were kind of running the show, so to speak. But Lemuria is simply all of our original ancestry that was colonized by a variety of galactic beings.
Why do I always hear so much about, I hear the word Atlantis much more than I hear Lemuria? I hear like everybody talk about Atlantis, but I don't hear Lemuria or even Mu. You can mention Mu and talk about Mu. I don't hear that as much as Atlantis. Why is that?
So Mu is used interchangeably with Lemuria. Okay, let me see what they're showing me. Atlantis. Why is Atlantis more relevant? Okay. There are a lot of souls who are here right now in these current timelines who are coming from Lemuria, but Atlantis was sort of the later stages of Lemuria that became more, we would call it masculine and technological. So there was this sort of conflict between divine feminine, divine masculine, battles between ethics around technology. And so a lot of Atlanteans who either abused power or who didn't use their power to influence what was happening are here now to stop us from reliving the same patterns and mistakes, or to simply just balance out their own soul's karma from what they did during those times. Like, there were some weird experiments going on, some things that were out of alignment with the cosmic laws that Source set forth for creation.
Mm-hmm. The more I get into spirituality and I read and hear about antiquity and ancient times, I always hear about how Lemuria was a matriarchal society. I'm always hearing about when we were in the golden age, it was matriarchal. And I say to myself, is there something inherently evil with I guess males, or this masculine energy? Because I'm always hearing when men run shit, it goes down the hill. Just like growing up in Harlem, I would hear about, and studying, coming into consciousness, I would hear about when white people came into power, shit went down for us as black people, as so-called black people. So I'm hearing about, the evilness in white people, and I'm hearing about the evilness in males and men when I come into consciousness. So what do you think it is about males, where every time I'm studying, I'm hearing about when we was in power, things just went bad. When women were in power, things were, it was on and popping.
So everyone has this yin yang, divine feminine and divine masculine energy inside of them. So it's a false light program to condemn masculine energy.
Okay.
The masculine energy that we've seen play out is based on a severance of connection with themselves and the divine mother, and that had all been architected by some of the fallen draconian races who kind of knew how to implant some things and throw that connection off. What's really important to understand here is, if we continue to label masculine energy as toxic and reject it, you're only rejecting an aspect of yourself. So even in my own ascension journey and healing, it's been making peace with the divine masculine to reintegrate that healed aspect of that holy consciousness. Like, divine masculine energy is just as sacred as feminine energy, to reintegrate it in a way that it serves and that it supports me in actualizing my highest timeline. So feminines and masculines do have different roles, which is what Source is showing me right now, that we're designed to do different things. Women have organically been designed to be the leaders. So yes, when masculines are ruling, it's not that they aren't worthy of that status. It's just simply the way you are designed to think and function is to be in support of the feminine energy, which is ruled by the heart. Doesn't mean that the masculine is not heart-centered or connected to heart energy. It's just a difference in the way that the energies collaborate and co-create.
No, indeed. I heard Blavatsky, and reading up on the Lemurians. I know Madame Blavatsky. You've heard of her before, right?
No.
She was part of the Theosophical Society. She was like in the esotericism and metaphysics and the occult. Yeah. She said that the Lemuria was the third root race and Atlantis was the fourth root race. So a lot of people have never heard this term, the root races. Have you ever studied what the root races are? And could you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So you have certain galactic beings who have what we call an Elohim status. And as a collective civilization consciousness, when you reach Elohim status, you then receive the codes to create your own race, to create races. This is typically when you reach a full Trinity consciousness. You're totally reabsorbed back into Source and operating from that unity field, and then you can create. So it's really complex in terms of root races, because over all timeline, spaces, and dimensions, many different groups of beings have created different races for different reasons. So they're not giving me any specifics, just wanting to lay the foundation for how creation begins to expand as consciousness expands, as you gain access to more of your true creatrix codes.
Like I mentioned earlier, you do energetic grid work and you were in Hawaii a little while ago. I also noticed a while ago on your Instagram that you were in Mount Shasta. Now, what's interesting is that there's actually a book called Hidden Lemurians of Mount Shasta. And the theory is that when Lemuria was falling, a group of them went to Mount Shasta and developed a city or something in the mountains. Something I might be messing it up a little bit. But being that you're
Hmm.
tapped into source, could you explain energetically the difference or the similarities between Mount Shasta and Hawaii?
So at the fall of Atlantis, beings who were still here, so the ones who didn't go back to their galactic star systems or what have you,
Mhm,
retreated into the earth. And so those would be our Atlantean ancestors, also known as Agarthans, who established the city, the main city of Telos, which is
mhm,
under Mount Shasta.
mhm,
If you've also heard of the Melchizedeks, this is a hub for a lot of the Melchizedek lineage.
mhm,
And so in Mount Shasta, I did meet some Melchizedek friends,
mhm, mhm. Wow.
and it's a thing. So when I say the inner earth councils are monitoring and watching how consciousness develops and ready to restore human history that we have not had in very, very, very long time, like millions of years, they're saying.
Wow.
That's all happening as this golden age comes online.
Mhm, mhm. Do you think our bodies are capable of withstanding the ascension process? I could imagine how different our bodies might have been when Earth was in the fifth dimension. So do you think it will take, maybe if not this lifetime, us to reincarnate in another lifetime to complete the ascension? Or do you think we can tap into this fifth dimensional energy with the current avatars that we have today?
The body is going to continue to upgrade and expand, but there are going to be tweaks. And
Mhm,
okay, I'm just making sure I can share some information. So, something really strange happened to me maybe 4 days ago. I wake up and I'm just in total pain, like my tailbone is in pain. And I'm like, I didn't fall, I don't have an injury. And then it dropped in, and
mhm.
I saw that some beings had did like a quantum surgery on me
Uh-oh.
and to
Woo.
align my tailbone with my pineal gland to be able
Wow.
to hold some of the new gifts and things that are getting ready to come online. Sharing this to say these types of weird things might start happening to you
Mhm,
because we have to make adjustments to be able to hold some of the new frequencies coming in. So yes and no to your question. There, your body is going to upgrade, but there are going to be some frequencies that you probably won't be able to hold them until your next incarnation if you want to come, if you want to still be here.
right, right. Now this is an interesting conversation. This is very, very. You said they did like a cosmic surgery on you or something
Crazy.
like
I
that.
wake up and
Wow.
I'm like literally in pain. And
Mhm,
4 days later, I'm still in pain. And I'm like, okay, something deeper is going on here. And then they let me know what happened. And I'm like, okay, interesting. You should really give people a heads up before you do things like this.
yeah, yeah.
So, and a lot of my friends go through weird ascension things as well. When I was in Mount Shasta, actually, um, even before I got physically got to Mount Shasta, because before you go places, especially if you're a great worker like me, your light body will go there first.
Mhm,
My face started breaking out in hives, and that like never happens to me. So I'm in Mount Shasta, and my face is just like breaking out crazy, and I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, there was some implants or technology you had been trying to remove by yourself for a while, but the frequency of Mount Shasta really just fully detoxed it and pushed it
wow.
out. So then some of the heavy metals and things like that, toxins, come out through the pores, and thus having this facial breakout. So if things like that are happening to you, I'm hearing change in diet. So I also pretty much operate on uh, fruit and vegetable juice at this point, and I'll have like one main meal. And it's just because our bodies are changing to be able to hold more light.
Yeah, yeah. I get that. I get that, and I'm seeing that more and more. So we have to hold more light than matter. Do you think that? And you talked about eating one meal, and I've heard growing up, I've heard the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, say to eat one meal a day. Now, do you think since times are changing, the time is speeding up? Even Dr. Sabi, I think, said eat one meal a day. I hope I'm not misquoting him, but a lot of people in the health field say eat one meal a day. Do you think since times are changing, the time is speeding up, what was once eat one meal a day should now be eat one meal every other day? Because because what was once 24 hours is now
Right,
48
right.
hours. So what it was true 30 years ago, but now we should be eating one meal every other day. Do you think that's how this works?
What I'm hearing here is eat intuitively,
Okay.
because your body itself is consciousness and it will tell you what it needs when it needs it. So if I adopt a very rigid framework where I say, well, I'm only going to have this one meal, or I'm going to do it this way permanently.
Right.
Okay, what if my body goes into a certain state that is telling me that it needs more or it needs less this day? So
Okay.
it's more so about us becoming in sync with our intuition to be able to hear what our body is
Mm,
telling us.
mm, mm,
And everybody's body needs different things based on where they are in their DNA upgrades and their cellular upgrades.
mm, mm. Right. So maybe following a diet with the masses or with a group, do you think that may be harmful because each one of our bodies needs something different?
Absolutely. And
Right.
this is all about personal sovereignty and breaking out of group think on every single topic. Uh, Knowing what's right for you when it's right for you is a first step towards really operating in sovereignty, which is just you being empowered as a being with high consciousness.
Mhm. No, definitely, definitely. Yeah. What do you think about the word "moo"? Because I heard before that the word Mars, we were Martians at first, and then there's a war that broke out in the cosmos. It's a big war in the cosmos, and we went from being Mars, and then when we came down to this realm, we called ourselves Moors. So went from, and we hear about Moors all in Europe, all over the world when we study ancient history. So do you think, is there a connection between Mars, Moors, and Mu? Is that like a connection between these three words? Do you see anything with these three that sound familiar?
There have been many, many, many celestial wars over millions of years. And so beings who are coming here or were coming here during the time of Lemuria for experience were coming with their own Akashic lineage and memory of experiences that they had. And
Mhm,
so all of these diverse experiences are intertwined in the language and the labels and the things that came up, but they're not giving me like a specific linear connection between the word Mu and Mars. It's more so there's just a range of energies that have been here over time.
mhm, mhm. Do these they say as above so below, and when we hear about these cosmic groups, whether it's the Lyrians, the Syrians, the Palladians, do they beef just as hard as we beef on this realm in terms of like the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the blacks, the whites, the Asians? Are they beefing just like how we beefing down here? Is it similar, or they got it more together than we got it down here?
So you have beings who are operating in different consciousness. The example they're giving me is similarly to how you could be operating in a fifth dimensional frequency, but you dealing with your family that's operating in a different level of consciousness, and that creates tension. It's not that you necessarily want to be in conflict with them, but if they bring it to you, you might have to create boundaries. You might have to do certain things to protect yourself. So it's they're just showing me this balance of light and dark energies, and they're giving me the example of Star Wars. Like Star Wars and Star Trek and all of these movies that are basically channeled and downloaded give a pretty accurate representation of the galactic landscape of how things
Mm,
work.
indeed, indeed. Wow. Is there a connection between Lemuria and everything we hear about Sirius? Like a lot of people consider Sirius to be this important. The whole America is based on the Sirius star, the July 4th and New
Mhm.
Year's Day. It's all centered around alignments with Sirius. Could you talk to me a little about Lemuria and the Sirius star system?
Sure. So going back to these colonies being established in Lemuria, Syrians were the second largest group after the Pleiadians to be a part of genetic modification and engineering
Mm,
for the DNA during that time. So
mm,
that's why so many Pleiadians and Syrians are on the planet.
okay.
During the time of Lemuria, there weren't, okay, they're showing me that Arcturians were more so overseers, but
Mm,
weren't actually here. So we hear about Pleiadians and Syrians the most
right.
because they are the original seeders of some of these colonies, or these original colonies that were established.
Mhm. Have you ever seen like there's been so much talk about aliens and things like that. Have you ever seen what somebody might consider an alien, like in person? I'm gonna start asking all my guests that. I'm gonna ask everybody that. I'm very, very curious to know.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Is that something that you think they want? Like, is that something that how can I say this? Like making contact, do you think that's something that will take us to the next level in terms of getting information on who we are, and maybe fears preventing us from having contact with these beings?
So they're already here.
Hmm.
Many people here have seen them. Like I've seen them, but they are cloaked, so they look human.
Right,
And
right.
they're doing that because the human psyche right now, it would be too drastic and dramatic for most
Okay,
people to hold that in their reality before they integrate information on certain levels. So
got you.
everything that's unfolding here is happening according to a very specific
Mm,
schedule and plan. And our frequency and consciousness is continuously being monitored and scanned, and to determine, okay, what can they hold in their consciousness without going into a psychosis. That's why
mm.
people go into a spiritual psychosis, is because the
Ooh.
human psyche can't keep
Can't
up with
handle, yeah.
information they just received, and it creates a fracture.
Man.
So things have to happen very incrementally. There's been certain information that I've received that I had to sit on for a year before I said anything about it, because I had to
Mm,
just integrate it, because my whole reality just got shifted.
mm, mm, mm.
So as we're making these quantum leaps, you are changing. What you thought was real and true is dematerializing. That could be a lot on a person.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
you really want to just appreciate the nurturing that is being offered to us right now.
How do you personally know when uh there's an alien cloaking itself as a human being? Like maybe that has happened to us. Like I said it before in a prior show, maybe a homeless person, maybe like a spiritual being that's,
Mm.
you know, just disguising itself as a homeless person. How do you tap in your intuition? Is there something in particular you do? I'm just want people to
Yeah,
tap
sure.
into their intuitive gifts more.
Hmm. It's this is difficult because most people are plugged into the matrix, so to speak.
Right.
So to be able to do that consciously is going to take practice.
Mhm.
I just want to see if they have a practical tool or technique. Something with the heart,
Mm,
because your heart is the highest quantum technology. When you center in your heart and, okay, look at someone through the lens of your heart, you will perhaps, not always, be given extra information. You can
mm,
perceive beyond the veil when you are peering through the eyes of the heart, because
mm,
the heart is all knowing, all seeing.
mm,
So it takes practice. Don't try to attempt this from the mind, they're showing me.
mm, mm.
Because then certain ideas can be implanted, is how
Mhm.
they're explaining it, and projected by beings who maybe they want you to see something negative.
Mhm. Erin, we talk about the divine feminine. Some women feel like, and the heart being the highest quantum technology, some women feel like because they have tapped into their heart, they have gotten it broken a lot of times and they've made wrong decisions. And society tells you you should have thought with your mind. This, that, and that. That person wasn't no good. Why did you do that? And the woman may be like, damn, well, in my heart, I thought it was a good
Right.
idea. So talk to me about some people. Talk to the people who may feel tapping into their heart
Mhm.
has led them down the wrong path before.
This feminine essence is embodied in unconditional love.
Mhm,
So a lot of women, when they come into this reality, they're coming from that unconditional love blueprint,
mhm,
but you have to adjust to the dimension that you're living in
mhm,
as to not be blinded by what you're seeing. So
mhm,
the word boundaries comes through, and discernment. And this is where certain instances of heartbreak happen because you are operating in unconditional love, but your reflection is not. And then you're trying to get them to be on the same page with you, but they're not,
mhm,
because you that's what you know in your heart and your soul, and you want that person to you want to be able to give and receive love with them on that same frequency, but it just requires discernment. Now what you shouldn't do is judge yourself ever for being in purity, for operating from your heart.
mhm.
And I think a lot of women, because they've been hurt by reflections who weren't operating in their higher consciousness, or they call these reflections in for whatever reason, um, they've shut the heart down
Yeah, yeah,
and want to be strong, and want to
yeah.
protect that space. And it's going to take time to allow those layers to shed and heal.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely. Well, to talk about the heart a little more, because it's such an important topic,
It
and I
is.
feel as though I'm a supporter of going living by the heart. I feel as though my whole life, I've lived through my heart, and it's got me exactly where I needed to be in life. So
Yes.
as a male on this planet, experiencing this as a male, as a man in masculine energy, I would tell my brothers out there that heart energy is very, very important. But I want to ask you this, Erin. So if we want both the men and the women to tap into that heart energy, and it's the highest quantum technology there is. We know when we want to strengthen our mind, we read books. What would be the equivalent to reading books for the heart? The book strengthens the mind. What is the number one thing that would strengthen the heart if the book strengthened the mind?
I love this question so much.
Thank
um Heart
you.
energy and love is not about anyone else. And this is the confusion in the paradigm I'm seeing. It's, for me to be in a state of love, I
Mhm.
have to expect that I'm going to get that love back. But it's really you choosing to be in a state of love, because that is your true essence, that is your true being. So
Okay.
it's more so about fine tuning and practicing the ability to be in a state of love, no matter if reflections are able to reciprocate that or not. It
Okay.
doesn't mean binding yourself to less than fulfilling interactions, but it's true love is, I'm choosing to be in a state of love because my cup is already full. Anything that
Mm,
anybody else is going to give me is extra. So this is what I call, you have to go to source directly for everything that you need, and that's true love, that's true abundance.
mm,
Once you accept that, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get unconditional love from anybody, including your own self. There are going to be times where you reject yourself,
mm,
because we are experiencing duality and separation. So once I know, okay, 9 times out of 10, somebody's not going to be able to love me unconditionally just because of this consciousness that we're in, let me go to source to get that unconditional love. So if people give it to me, great. If they don't, that's great too. That's true mastery of love. It's choosing to be in love with yourself, to receive love from source unconditionally without needing it from other people.
indeed. Do you think? humanity, I'm thinking of the Avengers, and have you seen the one with Thanos when he wanted to wipe out humanity? Have you seen that one?
I haven't finished it.
Okay. All right. What Thanos wanted to wipe out humanity. He felt as though that was the solution, I guess you could
Mhm,
say, for lack of better words.
mhm,
Do you
mhm.
feel as though when you talk about Hawaii, and that story sounds familiar with so many other places all over the world, when
Mhm.
big business gets involved and this
Yes.
start, I was looking at Hawaii, and I was looking at an Instagram video, and they was talking about how they're destroying it with the GMO crops, and they they're killing the farmers and just doing all types of experimentation over there for profit. Do you think at this point the only way to get to that golden age is to wipe out a large portion of humanity, let's say 85% of the population? If we don't do that, we're looking at staying in this Kali Yuga. For can that speed up the process to the golden age is what I'm asking.
Mhm, mhm. So for a long time, third and fourth dimensional timelines, and we'll call them the Ascension timelines, have been running congruent, meaning you still have access to people who are operating in a lower state of awareness. That's getting ready to change. We're reaching a point where, like I said earlier, they're going to go like this. I'm
Mm,
personally experiencing this where everyone in my life at this point is pretty much in the same level of awareness. A
yeah,
lot of people and things dematerialized, a lot of things dropped in from the quantum,
yeah.
like very fast, very fast. It's going to happen very, very fast. As the frequencies continue to accelerate, there's going to be a separation. So putting energy into trying to dismantle existing systems and structures at this point is not the most advantageous. You
Mm,
are better off anchoring yourself in the grid, in the frequency, the timeline that you want to be in, and you are going to quantum leap into that version of New Earth. A
mm,
lot of us are already experiencing New Earth. It
mm.
just it, it just depends on if your soul is going to choose to quantum leap you really fast so you can anchor into it.
I completely get what you just said, and I feel as though that the the pandemic, and I don't want to get too much deep into it. And my channel got suspended a couple of times, Aaron, just talking about the
I
shot.
bet.
Yeah, so I feel as though that was the great separator for people going from the third to the fifth dimension,
For
and
sure.
I really found out who was who when that came around. So many people just, looked at me completely different because of my choice and my decision
Mhm.
not to do a certain thing or not to get a
Sure.
certain thing. Do you feel as though that was a spiritual gift disguised to the world as a pandemic, or as
Mhm. It
and I don't want to
definitely
and I don't want
was.
to sound insensitive to the people that died, but this is like a looking at things from a larger
Mhm,
perspective
mhm.
question.
It definitely was. And from the human perspective, we can say that was horrible. A lot of people died. From the spiritual perspective, what was happening was those souls were choosing that as their exit point, knowing that they were not going to be able to hold the frequency or reach a frequency to enter the ascension timeline. So they actually chose to assist from beyond the veil.
Hmm.
And so it was a gift because so many people got to rest. And when you get to rest and you are not in this rat race frequency and energy, you get to go inside. And
Hmm.
that's what happened. A lot of people got to go inside.
Hmm. Indeed, indeed. So I want to touch on something we touched on earlier with the whole idea of parallel universes and the multiverse theory, and you talking about the Earth, the version of Earth you're going to experience. You're looking at this Hawaii thing in a different perspective than maybe the conspiracy theorists, and I don't want to, I
Mhm.
don't want to call them, because what they're saying may be true and exact,
Sure,
but
sure.
you're just choosing to observe this from a different perspective to experience a different result. Do you think so? Just to have people understand this a little further. So, are you basically saying that in some people's world, Hawaii will be inhibited by big business, and they're gonna continue to do what they want, but in your reality, Hawaii will be a completely different it would be completely different, and this is how reality is structured. Like there could be two different versions of Hawaii when you.
Exactly. So something that you really want to take away from this conversation is everything is true simultaneously.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all happening now. The timelines are running congruent to each other. It's just a matter of which one you want to activate. Now, why it's important that we're having this conversation, the Lemurian Council is stepping in and sharing this right now, is because as a collective, the more of us that understand this, we activate the version of Hawaii or anywhere else that we want because we create a collective grid. Everybody who's watching this conversation right now, energetically, you are a part of a new grid, planetary grid that we're creating to activate a parallel version of Hawaii and Maui and what's happening that's in alignment with golden age timelines. By choosing to subscribe to the belief that it's all happening in our favor. Right. So anytime these types of things happen, you can count on the dark side, what I call the dark alliance, to implant beliefs and programs that get people to use their God spark energy to fuel timelines that they actually don't prefer or want to experience. That's when you're going to take your power back. What am I choosing to fuel with my God spark energy? Golden age timelines or the same old time loop programs of oppression and victimization?
I love that phrase, golden age timelines. I'm gonna use that one. I'm letting you know now. I'm gonna use that one. I like that one a lot. Golden age. Yes. From now on, I'm gonna tell everybody I'm tapping in the golden age timeline.
That's exactly what it is. Golden age timelines. That's what I'm personally choosing to experience.
Right. No, definitely. No, that's why my spirit said to reach out to you on this particular topic, because that's what I wanted to tap into. I wanted to tap into a golden age timeline. I know what's out there. I know what's being talked about. I'm not saying it's not true. And like you said, truth could be simultaneously. We all could be telling the truth. So I think that this is a new, interesting perspective that we have to embrace as a collective humanity. And definitely, yeah.
I want to share this through another lens and dimension, which is there are different soul lineages and different areas of focus for different people. My area of focus as a omniversal Christ consciousness ambassador and representative, this is why this is my approach and what I'm here to embody, express, reflect, and teach. Other people are here truly within their own contractual arrangement to highlight some of these shadow aspects. So I don't want to invalidate other teachers, channels, healers, etc., who are tapping into different explanations. Because again, they all exist simultaneously. I'm just simply here to anchor omnipresent frequencies. All that is frequencies back to the highest vibration of what's available for you to experience. Doesn't mean those other versions are bad or wrong. They're just experiences within consciousness that you can have.
Indeed. No, that's real important, because a lot of times teachers end up, having drama and problems with each other because one embraces another philosophy or another idea. Look at religion and how much religion has beef with each other, Islam and Christianity. So I think that's extremely important and good what you're doing. Let me ask you this about Hawaii. I want to ask one more question, and then I want to take about 2 or 3 questions from the people. Do you mind doing that before we get out of here?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, yeah. So do you ever feel, Erin, I remember one time I was because I've been you talked earlier about the lack of indigenous presence in Hawaii. And I remember one time I was thinking about going to Hawaii years ago, and I don't know what happened, but I remembered me and my lady was talking about going to Hawaii, and we watched some program, and they was just talking about how the locals don't like the tourism. So when we was discussing about where to go, we was like, we don't want to upset the locals there with the tourism. You know what I'm saying? Even though we didn't do we're not responsible for what is going on over there. We just want to enjoy the land. So I felt guilty going over there. Do you think tourism is something, regardless of how much we love it and we like to go visit other places, do you think that's one of the evils of the world that has to end in order for these countries to get back their the power in their land? Because tourism is such big business. They completely destroy lands and just create tourism. people from overseas come and the locals is poor and they just, the outsiders, so-called
Yeah.
outsiders are
Yeah.
rich. What's your thoughts on that?
So I feel the spirit essence of Gaia, the planet herself, here. And what
Mm-hmm.
she's saying about this is nobody owns anything,
Mm,
not even the indigenous people of a certain land. And that
mm,
might be triggering for people, but
mm.
wherever you go, you are home.
Whew.
It is more so about how you connect and honor that land. When you go somewhere,
Yes.
you connect to the land and you ask permission. What is okay? What is not okay? You don't just infiltrate and intrude, which
Yeah.
is what humans do. Now, when I was opening up this omniversal forgiveness portal for Lemuria,
Mm-hmm.
one of the frequencies that we had to transcend was the pain of a lot of indigenous groups who are harboring some hate. And what we have to recognize with this is anytime you are in a frequency of hate, or rejecting any aspect of yourself, because we're all connected to the same universal consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
that is not your highest vibration. So a lot of people of color are going to have to accept all of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
allowing people to visit lands, allowing people to derive the benefit of those lands, because the earth, the spirit, the essence of her itself, she wants everybody to experience the sacredness, the beauty, the abundance of this planet.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, no, that's amazing. I'm glad you made me feel less guilty. I could go there. I could go. You made me feel. I mean, wow, what an answer. What an answer. Do you think, Erin? Do you think? I know I said I was going to ask one more question, but I just,
No, it's fine. It's
when
fine.
they come to me, I just got. Do you feel a difference? You go to Hawaii and you visit these different places. Whether you say you're in Mexico now, do you feel a difference in the waters when you go there? Like, is there a different spirit, a different energy about the waters when you go to these different places? Or do you think it's similar? It's pretty much the same, one island, one ocean, or is there a different energy in these waters?
Every land has its own spirit and essence. So even here in Tulum, the energy of the jungle is very different than the energy of Hawaii, Lemuria, which is
Mm,
more goddessy, very divine feminine. And
mm,
the water there was even very divine feminine. Like I had a group of grandmother wells as a group consciousness
mm.
contact me, and
Yeah.
it just this powerful, ancient, motherly energy. Here in Tulum, I haven't gotten a chance to get in the water yet, but just being around the jungle, it's a more masculine energy. It's like rough around the edges. So every land has its own vibration, its own frequency.
Indeed. I heard you when I talked to you on the phone, you told me that Hawaii is the heart chakra of Earth.
So here's my thing with that.
Mhm,
I'm going to say yes and no,
mm,
because I'm starting to recognize that the maps that we're seeing or that we believe to be true
mm.
are not necessarily what's true.
Okay.
And interesting, when I'm hearing they're like talking about going totally quantum, it depends on which timeline you're in,
Uh-oh. Okay. Uh-oh. There you
where
go.
things are located.
There you go.
Um, so we'll just implant that seed.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Because
Yes.
the follow-up question I was going to ask from that question was, what do you think? What is the heart chakra of the cosmos based
You know,
on how we're viewing it?
okay, I love how they're wanting to connect this.
Mhm,
How about we no longer emphasize going to a specific place that we believe to be any chakra of the world?
mhm,
We activate that energy within ourselves and connect upward into what we call the galactic universal heart, or the galactic central sun, the omniversal central sun, which is the womb of all that is. You can do that wherever you are. Now, there are certain vortexes and grids that kind of like these organic Stargate portals I'm seeing that allow you to anchor up higher easily. But let's just start with connecting from our own heart chakra and be in a state of perpetual connection. And as a practical tool, they're showing me, imagine a golden string from your heart chakra going up into the ethers, connecting into the womb of all that is. You can visualize that as a golden orb. You'll start to recognize yourself being supported with more energy, with more power, because you're not disconnected. They're calling this create an umbilical cord. That's what that is.
Wow. Wow, that's very interesting. Do you think that will we see more land surfacing from the waters in this golden age? And what do you think about that?
Not for a few hundreds of years. They're showing me. But then again, it all depends on timelines. But in terms of the timelines that we have access to right now, with how consciousness is accelerating, that's not going to happen for a while. But what's going to happen is, like I was just talking about, the maps not necessarily being accurate, real Akashic information that some of these inner earth civilizations and beings have been holding on to for a very long time is going to be revealed and given.
Where do you think you do a lot of channeling? Where do you think like the beings talk to you and you get these downloads? And I see you, like, I see you looking around, and I always see people look there. It's people look up to the left, to the right. It's fascinating. It's fascinating when we're getting these messages, how our eyes move around and get certain information. It's very interesting and fascinating. My question is, instead of these entities communicating through you by talking to you, do you think they're waiting to communicate to you by you giving birth to them, or by a woman giving birth to them and us having procreating? Do you think that's their ultimate way of getting back to this realm, or do you think a lot of them prefer to just talk to you the way that they're talking to you now, where you're just getting these downloads? Or are they ultimately going to be your future child, my future child, and everybody's future child?
Precisely. It's both simultaneously, but yes, they're communicating with us in this way to expand consciousness, give information so higher frequencies can be seeded here. So even with all of us, if you identify as a star seed or earth angel or a light worker, indigo, rainbow child, whatever it is, your full, when you were first born, your full consciousness could not be held in your physicality because it was too dense. So the agreement was that you were going to gradually expand your awareness or heal certain programs, traumas, beliefs, and then be able to incrementally integrate pieces of your full consciousness back in your body. That's what we're doing now. And then we can give birth to high frequency beings, is what they're calling it. And then you get a civilization and a planet that is sustained in a higher vibrational frequency. So we're doing the groundwork to create entry for these children, but they're saying your children, or even like future generations, will be you returning.
Interesting. All right, I want to take, we're about passing the hour mark. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. We got about 3,000 people in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. I want to get to a couple of questions from y'all. Can't be on here too long tonight, family, but
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
I'm being asked to give some Lemurian codes via light language. If
please do.
That's okay.
The people love that.
Okay.
They're going to love that.
Yeah, they're like, don't forget the activation. I'm like, okay.
Erin, they're going to love that, Erin. Okay.
So this activation is coming from the Star Mothers Council. The Star Mothers are the divine galactic primordial mothers, we would say, even, that were a part of the seeding of Lemuria. And we are making ourselves known to you at this time because of the birthing and the dawning of the new golden age. And we want to give you back some of your codes. We want to give you back some of your original blueprint. We want to reactivate the infinite inner child that lives within. And so it is up to you if you receive or not. Saratoria tokoasa narasukura sia sharakana matura yekiatia shikituria tuturoni yerekitrama. Naramara ya shukuata ya surya kiashia narata ya sekiatora kotran yari kianya. Namatora sahayi shiki tukura kiti shiki ura ya namato kura. Darata ya saka shukua siasho sokorana namatara nanana kiatia. Yarakata yere seki aria shun yara sukuria tiki ishiki. Ria kiatora kata ya siki shiki turukutra reki shiki amarayati. Connecting you to your Lemurian ancestors. And these are not just beings, they are plant devas and animals and spirits and ocean beings and mermaids and mermen and so many different consciousnesses who are here ready to co-create with you once more. We're complete.
Excellent.
Thank you all for receiving.
Woo, excellent, man. The people love when you do that. It's funny. Sometimes I be having these thoughts, and I be like, "Am I bugging out?" You was doing the light language, and I'm drinking my coconut water, and son tells me keep drinking while she's doing it because it's gonna get the water, the cymatic in the water.
Yes.
And I just kept drinking, and you talking, and it's all in my ear.
The structure of that water holds memory of those sound frequencies, so it's gonna integrate in your body better. Actually,
whatever you said is integrated through this coconut water. Thank you for this coconut water and Erin's light language. It is now in my body. All right, let's get to a couple of questions.
Right, let's get into it. I'm ready.
What a show, y'all, right? What a show. I mean, what a show. Wow, great show. Let's see. Okay, let's get to this one. Greetings. I am an Arcturian starseed. How do I foster a better connection with my star family while being on Earth?
Great question. A lot of people ask this. The first step is to acknowledge the presence. Even when you are believing, I can't see them, I can't hear them, I can't feel them, I'm not a channeler. All of those beliefs just block you from experiencing connection. So they're giving me for you, and a lot of people here just start acknowledging that they are there and they're already communicating with you in various ways beyond how you're expecting to receive communication.
All right. What are some ways we can give thanks to our water spirits?
Interesting that it's being answered this way. The first thing is to be in the knowingness that they don't require anything from you. That can be a huge illusory program in our human consciousness when it comes to praise. And why they're saying this is because you never want to be giving something actually from a place of lack or from a place of distortion.
Okay.
What they're really just saying is be in joy and celebration when you're in the water. Appreciate it, because you're not separate from the water, just like you're not separate from the air or animals or trees or anything. Everything is you. You are everything. So when you celebrate any aspect of creation and consciousness, you're celebrating self. And then you experience unity with whatever you're appreciating in your environment. So they're just saying, just love. Just love.
All right. Next question. What's next for the coming 5 years?
I mean, a lot of things.
real vague.
Yeah, a lot of things. Let me tune into any particular. They're using this as an opportunity to talk about AI, artificial intelligence. There will be a lot of technological advancement that may at first seem scary or not benevolent. But remember, you always get to choose the version of that, because it's also consciousness, version of that consciousness that you engage with, that you activate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, what is the serpent connection to Lemuria?
When I'm tuning into the frequency of this serpent word, they're just showing me Kundalini energy. And we could say that in the times of Lemuria, in the Lemurian timelines, everyone's Kundalini was fully activated, meaning universal life force energy properly moving through your entire chakra system, from the base of the spine, through all of the chakras, through all of the different chambers and caverns within your spine, through the crown, connecting to the galactic central sun, thus experiencing total union with source, like perpetually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, let me ask this next question. Is it possible to connect to your higher self, although you may not be able to afford to eat in the most healthiest way?
Yes, we are what Source likes to call fourfold beings. That means spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And
Mm,
so, on every single level, you have to manage, sustain, and maintain your vibration. However, it doesn't mean that you are ever truly disconnected.
mm,
So, if you are in a frequency of love, that energy can really override even you eating dense foods. So what I'm hearing ultimately on this is don't overly focus on that one tier. If you're
mm.
if you're thriving mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and then in the health department you're like, okay, I need to work on some things, you can still manifest and create a very beautiful reality for yourself. Don't This is like self-grace I'm hearing.
Indeed. Wow, great answer. How you know if you made it to the new Earth timeline?
Well, if you're holding the frequency of this information in your field of awareness right now, then welcome, you're here. That's what they're saying.
Wow,
But
wow.
how you feel? How do you feel in the morning when you wake up? And also, there's no ultimate new earth timeline, right? We're continuously collapsing millions and trillions even of timelines every single day. Information that you received today just helped you collapse a million timelines of different versions of people and yourself that you don't have to experience. You can now quantum leap into something higher, something better. So making it is more of a linear way of thinking, and they're talking about embodying it, and you will go there instantaneously, even if the outer isn't reflecting in the way that you desire. They're talking about embodying the frequency of whatever new earth means to you, which is ultimately just more love, more harmony, more abundance.
How can we select what timeline is best for our earthly purpose in this lifetime?
Timelines can be consciously selected, but they're also built. This is what Abraham Hicks refers to as our vortex, meaning experiencing contrast, knowing what we don't want to know what we do want.
Mm,
The ultimate way to build an optimal timeline sometimes it's the first experience which you don't want. Now, the goal is to not get stuck there. You have to pivot. You have to use that experience to simply say, thank you for showing me that this is not what I prefer. But now I have the awareness that this does exist. And
mm.
then that timeline starts calibrating, culminating, and it's being built, it's being created out of infinite possibility. And then you go there.
Mm.
So you select it through actually first being willing to recognize what you don't prefer and then shift. Use it to help you clarify what you do prefer, and then project your consciousness into that reality via visualization, gratitude, all these different manifestation strategies will help you project your consciousness there.
Okay. How can you tap into the grid and start doing grid work?
Wherever you are, visualize yourself as a conduit for higher dimensional frequencies anchoring down into the crystalline core of the earth. It doesn't require anything special. It's just by being there. And so I'll give an example of this. When I was told that I needed to uproot my whole life and move to San Diego, I'm like, okay, why am I going there? And they're like, oh, you're working on a grid. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And they're like, just be there. As you're expanding your consciousness and raising your vibration wherever you are anchoring higher dimensional frequencies. You've been doing this your entire life. It doesn't require a lot of thought. Now, what might start to happen is you get hits to go certain places because more light workers are needed in that particular town. I'm hearing soul migrations. A lot of people are thinking about relocation right now. It's because your frequency is needed in that particular environment. The unique codes that you carry are needed to help that particular community, environment, and space get on the Ascension timeline.
Okay, we're gonna do one more question, family. I appreciate your questions, but we're about to get out of here. Let me get one more question. Let me see what y'all talking about. Let me ask. Somebody wants to know. Oh man, I'm trying to find a real good one. Something that hasn't been asked before. I'm just okay. Well, I guess this is a question. You had said something earlier about them fixing your spine so the information can go to. So somebody wants to know what gives them the right to operate on us without our permission.
So happy that this person asked this question. To clarify, permission and consent was granted from a higher self perspective. So even if you are not consciously aware of certain things, it doesn't mean that your higher self hasn't contracted for that to happen for whatever reason. This is the difference between, okay, I'll explain this. I'm operating in a tri-dimensional consciousness, meaning I'm aware of myself as my human, I'm aware of myself as my galactic self, and I'm aware of myself as source, all simultaneously. For most people, you might just still be in your human. So it feels like I did not consent to that. The more you ascend and these consciousness start to blend and you're operating in this tri-dimensional awareness, you can be aware of things before they happen. In this particular instance, I wasn't, and I'm seeing why. It's kind of a part of something that I needed to learn and thus share with everybody right now. But basically, your higher self will start to integrate into you more as you become more fully unplugged from the matrix. Right now, for most people, you're just in life. You're living your life as just a human. So it feels like something is being done to you because you don't have the awareness of yourself in that other dimension simultaneously. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, you were breaking up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Did your screen go black? Because mine's went black.
No, yours froze.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What did you catch?
I'm trying to remember now because I got thrown off and I don't even...
Maybe that information wasn't meant for everybody to hear.
yeah, but I know you was talking about getting permission from a higher self perspective, and the consent came from the big homie, the higher self. It doesn't necessarily have to come from a conscious awareness.
Exactly.
And I think that was very, very important because we all made decisions from a higher self perspective that we don't even remember right now. And then when things happen, we're like, how can this happen to me? And
yeah, exactly.
maybe that's part of the soul contract.
Exactly.
You say that? Yeah.
Because when this whole thing unfolded, I was like, okay, let me check in with Source about this. And Source confirmed, yes, an adjustment took place because of XYZ. So as I was explaining before I got cut off, these different layers of your awareness will start to blend where you're aware of yourself as a human, your higher galactic self, and Source all simultaneously.
Does that ever feel like you're a bit of a, what's the word, like a
alien? Yeah.
But not just alien, like you may feel like you're going crazy sometime, like you're a bit delusional, like you're. You know,
So this is what I was talking about spiritual psychosis. You have to master one phase of consciousness before the other one builds on top of it. So everything with me has happened very incrementally in a way that information or expansion is given as to not overwhelm me. So now they're all working together harmoniously, and they're blended.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mentioned that because it takes an incredible amount of belief in the unseen realm to get to certain levels in this realm. And sometimes you're like, damn, am I just bugging out?
Am I
Like,
losing my mind?
yeah,
Yeah.
am I losing my like when you say you want to achieve something, Erin, and you're telling yourself, I am rich, I am wealthy, and you may be living in the projects, or you may be, your reality may affirm that you're poor, and you're saying all these things in your mind. And you're like, damn, am I bugging out? Sometimes you think you're bugging out, you know what I'm saying? But then when it come through, you like, I knew it. And that teaches you to have even more faith in the unseen. So yeah, I seen a lot of people go crazy with this information, though, Erin. A lot. I've been in this thing a while. I've seen a lot of people
I've seen people go super sonic Christian after dipping their toe and go even more extreme than what they were or how they grew up, because it challenges everything that you know or that you thought was real. So what do you think that does on the inside? It creates a feeling of unsafety. You feel unsafe. It's you're tapping into the unknown. Now, I do want to give a tool to maneuver this as you're receiving more information. This is why it's important that it all be filtered through the heart. Source is only operating in my highest good. Yes, this is unfamiliar, but perhaps I'm just expanding into more pieces of myself that are going to bring me more joy, happiness, and fulfillment.
Excellent.
Life is only getting better.
Yes.
It's only Source's main desire is to expand through us. So that means that your life is only actually getting better. It's just your ego that wants to hang on to what's comfortable and familiar.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I definitely enjoyed this show. I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate everybody for watching. Before you get out of here, Erin, I know you got some services you offer to the people. Tell the family about that, as well as anything you may have coming up.
Absolutely. So what I want to highlight today is I am in the middle of launching the newest class or cohort for my Divine Feminine Psychic Development and Quantum Healing Training Program. So doors are open. You can go to erinlyonsofficial.com and go to Priestess Portal, and we're doing psychic development. We're connecting with your guides, activating your own quantum technology that you're here to anchor. And it's going to be a 6-month intensive experience.
6 months. Oh, y'all getting busy.
We go deep.
Wow.
We go really deep. It is called Priestess Portal for a reason. So if that feels in resonance, check it out. We'd love to have you.
And what's the website again? To
erinlyonsofficial.com.
Dope. And what's your Instagram for those who may want to follow you on Instagram?
Erin Lyons Official.
Okay, yeah. Make sure you follow the sister. Also sign up. All the sisters, the goddesses out there, definitely sign up. Tap into those psychic abilities. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show. Family, this is Brother Rich Black Magic. Thanks for tuning in on this Monday night. And we are signing out, family. See you next time. Peace.
Bye, guys.
All right.